You need to understand that the easier to try to make it, shakes, pills, detoxes, supplements, cosmetic procedures, without having a proper plan, execution, and an exit strategy, you're going to make it harder on yourself. So trying to make it easier is going to make it harder in the long run. Hello, and welcome to the Core Podcast. We're your hosts, Aline Keller
and Shannon Polson.
I'm a precision nutrition certified coach.
And I'm a NASM certified personal trainer for over 13 years. We support women 30 years old and over to pursue health through realistic nutrition and fitness strategies. Our main passion is to help you find that smile when you look in the mirror, find freedom when you eat, and joy when moving your body.
Make sure to subscribe for your weekly dose of doable health tips, practical advice, and so much more. It's the health education you wish you'd had.
So today, Aline is going to talk about a wonderful topic that I feel a lot of us have questions on. Some of us might even be confused and frustrated on. I think she's going to answer a lot of our questions today. And her topic is how your body fights fat loss. I'm so excited to hear what you have to say.
That's it. Super simples, right? How your body fights fat loss.
No big deal.
No big deal. No pressure. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Speaking of no pressure, let me just start by saying that this isn't an entire episode on everything that your body is doing, but this is really the most common mechanisms of why you're not really getting the results that you're looking for. So maybe you feel like you've lost the same 10 pounds over and over and over, and they keep coming back. Maybe you've lost weight at some point and it all came back and then a little more. Maybe you feel like the diet worked, but that one meal or that one weekend out of the plan destroyed everything. Or you're just plain tired of dieting all the time and not really getting out of that cycle. So this is what this episode is all about. Now, I did talk about this in a more generic way in our Starvation Mode podcast, which I highly encourage you to listen to. But today I want to go into a little more detail about exactly what it is that your body's doing to fight fat loss and what you can do about it. I have some great images on my blog. So there's also going to be a link on the description. You can see the link to go to the blog post because there are some images there that's really help clear this up. Everything that I'm saying, you get a visual on it. So let's go. It's very discouraging to feel like you're dieting all the time and to feel like when you're supposed to be in maintenance, you're still hungry. And when you stray a tiny bit from the plan, it's like you can't really wrestle your way back into weight loss or getting to the weight you want. And the reason why is that our bodies are designed to protect us from fat loss. Even when fat loss is the healthiest option, even when it's necessary, our bodies are designed to stop us from losing weight. And we have what's called a set point. And that just means that the human body tries to maintain its weight in a preferred range. Now, we've said this before, and I'm going to say this again. Your maintenance weight is not a specific number. People get very caught up on a very specific number. It's a range. So your set point is a range where your body is comfortable with. For most people, this is about 2 to 3 pounds above or below a specific number. But this range is a range where your body comfortably is going to sit and go back to that weight without much effort on your part. Now, this is going to happen even if this isn't a healthy weight. So this set point, your body tries to maintain this, and it's not completely static, and it changes throughout life depending on lifestyle, habits, exercise, how we eat, but we do have a set point, and unfortunately, it's not always our healthiest weight. And we can change our set point, and at some point, I'll go into details on exactly how we can work on our set point. But for today, I just want you to know that your effort to lose weight, it feels hard because it really is hard. these huge exercise and fitness and wellness companies and influencers, they want you to believe that you can do it in 21 days and 60 days and 10 minutes a day. We have said this a million times. That is not how this works. Okay. If this were easy, everybody would be walking around super healthy and maybe sporting six packs. Okay. It is not super easy. And the scariest part for me is the easier we try to make it, the harder it becomes in the long run. So fat loss is super simple, but simple is rarely easy. Easy is usually a lot more hoops and complications and supplements and specific foods. Like there's a lot of stuff that goes into easy that, when you take out all the makeup, when you take out all the fluff, it's very simple, but it is not easy. Mastering the majors, mastering the essentials, it is not easy. So the first thing we're going to do is have a little reality check. The fact is that successful weight loss is only successful if you keep the weight off. So saying, oh, that was an amazing diet, but I gained it all back, it wasn't an amazing diet because it didn't work. You didn't keep the weight off. So losing it and putting it back on is the definition of an unsuccessful diet. Okay. So of the people that lose weight, after 1 year, only 20% maintain that weight loss, meaning that 80% of people after a year, they return to their previous weight or gain more. After 2 years, only 15% of people maintain the weight loss, which means that 85% returned or gained more. And after 3 years, which is our biggest benchmark for if weight loss was maintained or not, only 5% maintained the weight loss, and 95% of people have returned to their previous weight or gained more weight. If this doesn't scare you a little bit, it should. And it should also motivate you a little bit. But a 5% success rate is awful. At the same time, a 5% success rate should really pump you up to do whatever it takes, not to focus on losing quickly, but to be in the percentage of people who actually keep it off. And the people that keep the weight off, I can guarantee you the absolute majority of these people did not go on a 21-day starvation diet and then keep the weight off. No, this was progressive. This was slow. This was careful. And this was over time taking care of their body.
You kind of have to think of it as, okay, if I start today, and although it's very, very hard, like think of where you'll be in 6 months or a year.
Yep.
Versus, okay, I should take that back. So say you start today just beginning a fitness or exercise routine and then eating healthier, like creating these habits that are going to help you achieve long-term success. If you start today, think of where you'll be in 6 months or a year versus that 21-day fix. I just get such a kick out of it. What happens on day 22?
Yep.
What about 59? Like, it's just so stinking ridiculous to me. And then it's also like, and then you're only eating clean foods. Like, what's a clean food?
There is no such, okay, that is a rant for a different podcast, but yeah.
So
I
anyways,
mean,
that's
I washed my cookie. Is it clean now? Anyway.
oh, right. Yeah. So that's my rant too, is it's just like, think of if you just start today, the smallest of the simplest changes in those 6 months to a year, that third year, how big that's going to add up. And you're going to be successful. You're going to look back from 3 years and be like, I am so glad I just remained consistent.
Yes.
And you'll have your steps, your step backs, and you'll have your step forwards and whatnot. But yeah, I think that's a good point.
And we're not going on any more bunny trails.
Right.
We have a lot of podcast episodes to do, and you know what? We'll get to these.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Send us
now
ideas.
we've got stuff to talk about. That's never a problem. So now that we know that the odds are stacked against us, how is your body trying to do this? Why is it so hard? So, and I promise that, I'm giving you bad news, but I will tell you how to help this not happen. So now that we know how hard it can be, there are 3 main things that your body does to prevent you from losing weight, not only while you're dieting, but when you stop stop dieting. So how acutely these things happen depend on how severe your restriction is, how long the diet lasts, and how frequently you diet. So I'll say this again. All these mechanisms are going to happen no matter what. When you diet, these things are going to go into place. This is just biology. This is what your body's going to do. However, a very severe restriction, so going on 1,000-calorie diet for 20 days, or cutting out an entire food group, if you are very severe in your restriction, or if you diet for too long without ever taking a break, or if you diet and stop and diet and stop and diet and stop, the more you do these things, the more these mechanisms are activated. So think of it kind of like a dimmer switch. The more you engage in severe restriction, cycles of diet and stopping diet, or doing too long of a diet, you're cranking up this response mechanism. If you don't go as severe, if you take your time, if you take diet breaks, then this mechanism, it's going to be activated, but not as much. So let's take a look at the 3 things in your defense system. So these are simultaneously happen to prevent fat loss and trying to get you back to your previous set point. The first is metabolic adaptation. Now, this simply means that your body adjusts and it reduces your BMR, reduces your NEAT, reduces your TEF, and reduces your energy expenditure. Now, there is a detailed podcast, and no, we didn't do a podcast, did we? And now I don't remember, but there is a detailed post on all the parts of your, yes, we did, metabolism. Talked all about metabolism. So
Yep, yep, yep. I was like,
there is
yeah.
a detailed podcast episode and post going on all the parts of your metabolism. But basically, metabolic adaptation means that your body is going to use less energy to do everything that it has to do when you are consuming less energy. This isn't a bad thing. This is a thing. All right. So smaller bodies burn less calories. That's just a reality. So you need less energy if you have a smaller body. However, when you're dieting, your BMR, your basal metabolic rate, it actually goes down more than what would be predicted. And the more restrictive your diet, the more your metabolism slows down. The faster you diet, the more lean mass you lose instead of losing fat. And yes, you're also losing some fat, but lean mass, that which is greatly composed of your muscles, that has more metabolic activity. So losing lean mass means that you are lowering your metabolism, your basal metabolic rate more. Another thing that happens when you're dieting is you move less. Your NEAT, which is non-exercise activity thermogenesis, go back, read what it is, but just these daily movements that we do, twitching, moving around, bouncing your legs, whatever it is. This is something that you don't control. Even though we do talk about, oh, increase your NEAT, go for a walk. True NEAT is not something that you control. This is something that your body does involuntarily. And when you are taking in less energy, your body moves less. Another thing is when you are eating less food, you are using less energy to digest this food, not just as a percentage, but as an absolute number. Again, this isn't something that you can control. You can't burn more energy in food if you're eating less food. You're just going to burn the percentage that your body needs to burn to digest that. And also, if you're eating less, your body uses less energy during physical exercise. So again, this is you're taking down more of the energy that your body would use. So again, metabolic adaptation, it's not bad. It just is. It's the laws of physics. They're not going to change because you don't like them. If you are eating less, your body is going to do everything it can to compensate for that. The second thing your body does is a restoration of hunger. So what this means is that you will feel hungrier when you're dieting than the energy you actually need to restore energy balance. In other words, your body's hunger regulation systems, including the famous ghrelin and leptin hormones, they overshoot for hunger. So your fat storage systems also are enhanced when you're dieting, meaning that your body becomes more efficient at storing fat. So, if you want a tiny bit more detail, what happens is that when we diet, our fat cells, they shrink in size, not in number. So as they shrink, they secrete less leptin, which is a major control hormone for many metabolic activities, including satiety. Other hormones are also part of this process, like the thyroid hormone and ghrelin, but this is not something we're going to talk about today. But what happens is that your body, when you're dieting, when you're taking in less energy, you overshoot hunger. So when people say, "Oh, I'm so hungry, I'm so hungry," that's normal. That's normal because that's just a process your body's going to go through. And I will tell you what to do about this. The third thing your body does is it tries to prevent you from losing more fat. This means that your body may increase the number of fat cells if you gain weight too quickly after a diet, because your body's going to try to defend against future diets. Also, when you eat more food than you need to maintain your weight, your body will also store fat more efficiently. And this is actually really common after very restrictive days or diets. We've talked about this before, but when people are like, I'm just going to eat spinach or kale and chicken, kale and chicken, kale and chicken, kale and chicken. Sure, you go, right? I mean, this is
It's
awful.
like
You
a
go at
cheer.
this for like 3 or 4 days. And then when you finally eat, you eat a lot more than you would had you not starved yourself. So this is just something that your body naturally does. When you overly restrict, you will get to a point where you're going to overshoot, and your hunger cues cannot be trusted in these situations because your body is going to overshoot that.
Now, I don't know. This is something that I think I read when I was young 20s. When you restrict yourself like that, like the chicken and spinach diet, and then you eat, over excess amount of food compared to that chicken and spinach that you've been doing the last 4 days, is your body just holding on to whatever you ate because it's nervous that you're gonna go back to just chicken and spinach again? Like, oh my God, a brownie. Oh, I'm just gonna hold on to it, like all the carbs and all the ingredients, and just, does that make sense?
Sort of. It's not as emotional as all
Sort
that.
of. I know it's not
Like,
very scientific at all, but
yeah, you're not like tricking your body, because people will say that, and this is part of the diet marketing nowadays. You have to trick your body, you have to all these things. Like that's not exactly what's happening. But what does happen is your body becomes more efficient at storing fat, the same way that if you're eating less, your body burns more calories during exercise, not because you don't need as many, but because you're intaking less energy, your body is more efficient. So it's going to do the same workout with less energy. And again, why do we progress with exercise? Because your body gets more efficient at doing what you said it could do. So you have to make it harder. The same thing with weight loss. If you restrict yourself too much, what happens is your body becomes more efficient at storing the fat. And
yeah, that
so
makes
when
sense.
you do eat, your body's like, okay, I can do a lot more with this, because it's not, our bodies take a little longer to regulate than we do to overeat.
Yeah.
So it's not that your body's like hanging on to it and waiting for you to starve. It's just that the processes became more efficient because you weren't feeding yourself enough.
Yeah, that was a very scientific way of putting it. Thank you. You answered my question.
Well, and this is why the crash diets, the super low calorie diets, they tend to have a worse outcome than the person's original condition. And it's
Sure.
why cheat meals, cheat weeks, losing a lot of weight super quick, and then going on a free for all like day 22, this
Mm.
always backfires, because when you gain weight after a quick loss, your body, it's just like, okay, I can do this. I know how to do this very efficiently now. You taught your body to be efficient in a very short period of time. You're not teaching it to decrease that efficiency for the future. And there's also more details of this in other posts. And this third mechanism, it's so important, because people talk a lot about the diet but they don't talk about exiting the diet. They don't talk about going into maintenance. So the famous day 22 or the day 61, whatever it is, you need an exit strategy. And I would argue that your exit strategy is more important than the diet itself. So if you don't have an exit strategy, you're going to screw up your results. So we're so focused on the diet, and that's important, but it's not nearly as important as knowing how you're going to transition out of this to give you a shot into being in the 5% that's going to keep the weight off.
So does this kind of come into play when that person is taking on that 21-day challenge and then day 22 hits, they kind of have that free for all versus an exit strategy? Like, what do I do now for the next 21 days to maintain what I just did the previous 21 days?
For sure, because what usually happens is you want to lose so quickly and you want to get to that goal so quickly that you'll do whatever it takes to lose that weight.
Mhm.
And whatever it takes, 5 times out of 6, it's going to be too much. It's going to be more
Mhm.
than you can emotionally handle, more than you can physically handle, more than you can mentally handle. Like it's just too much. Like you can't eat like that at that level of restriction. It just messes up with your whole life. So what happens is you're like, okay, I'm going to power through. It's just 21 days. So you lose a lot, and you teach your body how to be more efficient in the processes that it needs to hold on to weight. And then when you go and you have those 3 pizzas, a pint of ice cream, and 5 donuts,
Mm. Yeah.
when you have that, your body is very efficient. And it's not that you're in starvation mode. It's not that you're holding on to fat. That's not it. Your body is just really, really good at storing things because you haven't been doing this in a balanced way.
Yep. Yep.
So it really is like the exit strategy is essential. And, it's something that I literally talk to my clients about an exit strategy on the day that they are onboarded. Because the day that I start working with a client, I say, look, I'm interested in getting you where you want to go, but I'm more interested in keeping you there once you get there. So everything that we do together, I'm thinking about what happens after you lose this weight, because that's important. That matters how you're going to stop dieting so that you can counteract these mechanisms a bit, which is exactly what we're going to talk about now. What do you do about this? So everything can seem pretty dire, and if you've done the lose gain cycle before, you're thinking that all is lost because these systems have been activated in your body. There's nothing you can do. You can't lose it. You're doomed. You're really, really not. And I'm not saying it's going to be easy, because it's not easy, but there are things that you can do. The first one is to stop looking for shortcuts. Okay.
Mhm.
You need to understand that the easier to try to make it, shakes, pills, detoxes, supplements, cosmetic procedures, without having a proper plan, execution, and an exit strategy, you're going to make it harder on yourself. So trying to make it easier is going to make it harder in the long run. So take a good look in the mirror and don't approach fat loss for a party next week, for a wedding next month, for a date tomorrow night. Can I lose 5 pounds in a day? No. Shortcuts are going to lead you to roadblocks. If you really want to lose weight and keep it off, you have to have a plan for how you're going to execute it. You have to understand that there are going to be ups and downs and detours, and that's part of the process. And more important than anything else, for the love of God, have an exit strategy. Know what you're
Love
going to do
that.
after the last day. So that's the most important one for all of these. The second thing that you need to do is to slow down. So the best diet is where you lose as slowly as possible, eating as much as possible. Now, this is going to help counteract a lot of this defense mechanism, because you're losing, but not to a point where you are lowering your metabolism too much, where you are making your body super efficient at fat storage. You're losing, but you're still eating a good amount of food. Now, this doesn't mean half a pound a week. That's not enough. This means that you're losing on average 1 to 2 pounds a week. remembering this is an average. The sweet spot for your body, it's going to be calculated. We're going to test it. I always start out with the math. Like, okay, in theory, this is what's best. And after a few weeks working together, we figure out, okay, what is your sweet spot? What is it that is the best rate for you to lose slowly, eating quite a bit, but still losing? Okay, so a good estimate, and this is something that is agreed upon across literature, is that losing 1 to 2 pounds a week is a good degree of loss. It still preserves muscle mass, and you can still eat a good amount of food, so you're not feeling hungry all the time. And this helps with hunger a lot because, like I said in the beginning, we feel hungry when we diet. So the more you restrict, the hungrier you're going to feel, and the more chances of you just giving up. So you need to find a deficit where you're eating enough to not feel constantly hungry. You'll feel a little hungry. You're dieting after all, but it's enough that you're not super hungry all the time, but also it's low enough that you're still losing 1 to 2 pounds a week. The third thing is build muscle. Now, here's where Shannon nods her head and says, yes.
Oh, just raised both of my hands, jazz
Yes,
hands.
yes, yes, yes. So build muscle. Listen, 30
Do
minutes
it.
of strength training will do more for your metabolism than 30 minutes of cardio. Now,
Yes.
cardio is important. Cardio is super important. And, for the runners, I know it's super important for your mental health. Running does nothing for my mental health. I need the weights for that. But anyway, I'm not saying cardio is important. It's very important. We need cardiovascular training for a number of health reasons, and I'm not minimizing that. However, all the time we see people just doing endless cardio in the hopes of increasing fat loss. And, it's like, I'll just get 1 more hour in of running every day. Now, your body becomes more efficient over time and it burns less energy during exercise. However, muscle burns energy after exercise. So just burning energy while you are working out, that should not be your main goal. Muscle is very metabolically active tissue in your body. So the more muscle you have, the higher your basal metabolic rate, or AKA the higher your metabolism is going to be. Exercise always also regulates hunger and satiety. So there's also a benefit to what right in the beginning of a diet. If you're exercising, you tend to feel even hungrier, but give yourself 3 to 4 weeks of exercising and dieting, and exercise will help balance out some of that hunger. But again, like, building muscle is good. And for all the women out there, you will not get bulky. Nobody ever looked in the mirror and said, oh crap, I went too far. It
Right.
takes
Oh no, my arms look too good.
right? Like, it
Dang
takes
it,
a
my quads.
lot of work to build muscle. So
Yeah.
don't be scared of that. So, get
Yeah.
out of the treadmill, keep doing like 20, 30 minutes of cardio. That's fine. But, add some muscle to your frame. And then
Yes,
the
yes.
fourth one is, I said this, but I'm going to use a whole, number 4, what can you do, is have an exit strategy. I really dislike saying it's a lifestyle and not a diet. Like, oh, I hate that. I see that in propaganda all the time because it's been overused. It's been overused to sell a diet under a cooler name. But that being said, it's important to understand that what gets you to your goal weight is what's going to keep you there. Meaning that the premise behind this advertising cliche, it's correct. What got you to fat loss, it's what's going to keep you there. So you need to figure out how to leave the diet, which means that you need to do a diet that you're frankly willing to do for the rest of your life, only eating a little more. So it basically means that, okay, so you decide to buy a shake and you're going to replace 1 or 2 meals with that shake. Are you willing to do that for the next 70 years? If you're not, that's probably not the best diet for you, because if you're not willing to do something for good, then maybe find something that you can actually do forever. Because again, to maintain your weight, you're going to need to eat more calories, but it's still the same type of food.
And it goes into exercise as well. I mean, if you think that you need to do 3 hours on the
Oh,
elliptical
yeah.
to lose weight for that wedding next month, do you want to do 3 hours on the elliptical every day for the next 70 years? Probably not. So
Probably
I
not.
love that you mentioned that. Like, and it's trial and error too. And it's going to
Yes.
change. What worked for you 5 years ago, 1 year ago might not work for you now. And then also in a year and 5 years might not work for you. But find what works now and what you can maintain and be reasonable and be realistic about it.
Yes. Yes. And the good diet is an or exercise plan, which is also, but the good diet is that when you exit it, you're roughly going to maintain your diet with more food, not change everything that you love to eat. So for a diet to be sustained and for weight loss to be successful, you need to be able to adhere to it to do it. If it's too hard, too expensive, or too incompatible with your life, it's not going to stick. So I'm going to finish quickly with what do success cases have in common? That 5%. What are a few things that we see in common in those 5% of people who successfully keep the weight off? So they all practice some sort of restraint. Maintaining weight is not synonymous with eating whatever and whenever you want. There is some sort of restraint, not restriction, restraint. Second thing is that they have monitoring. There's something that shows you where you're at. Just like a speedometer in a car, you don't drive staring at the speedometer all the time, but you glance at it to check if you're in the right speed. So successful weight maintenance has some sort of monitoring. The other thing that everyone has in common with successful weight loss is exercise. 70% of the people who maintain weight loss do some form of exercise. Any exercise is important. Building muscle should be essential. Number 4 thing that success cases have in common is support. Your environments and the people around you matter. The most successful people have worked with a coach or have a family or friend support system that is positive. Not 10 friends giving you an opinion on how to lose weight, but people that support you in the choices that you're making and somebody who is specifically helping you get to the weight you want. And the last thing is lifestyle. Now, this is a very broad brush, but it includes the types of foods you eat, the amount of sleep, stress, emotional control, those things. So I'll finish with an important note is that we have seen an increase in self-medication when it comes to weight loss. And there are also some very promising medications in the market. Now, obesity is much, much more than eating too much. Obesity is not about laziness. And the solution is not eat less and move more. In some cases, the lifestyle strategies are not enough. And in those cases, talk to a doctor that specializes in obesity, usually an endocrinologist, and assess if there's medication that could work for you. That being said, self-medicating is at best a waste of money. At worst, it's damaging your health. So a good nutrition counselor, a good nutrition coach, we will suggest you talk to a doctor if it seems like you need more intervention than lifestyle interventions, because there are cases in which you have gotten to a point where to sustain the lifetime lifestyle interventions, there is a temporary need for medication. So I am not telling you that every single case can be solved and you can reach your goal weight only with lifestyle, but medication for any serious doctor out there, for any serious practitioner out there, medication is not going to be your first resort, but it is also not shameful for you to need medication. So that's it for today. It's a lot of information, and it's there. The link to the blog post is on the description, and I would love to help you find the light at the end of this weight loss journey. So if you have any questions, if you need some support, just contact us and we're here to help. All right, so next week we are going to be talking about exercise again, because as you know, we do a little ping pong here. We do exercise and nutrition, and we are going to be asking the question, should you hire a personal trainer at all? Why would you hire a personal trainer? What do they do anyway if you could get YouTube videos and work out without one? So should you hire a personal, Shannon's laughing at me. Should you hire a personal trainer? Let's talk about that next week.
Woohoo!